Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where are all my patriots? Where are you at? Everybody? Hold on just a second here. Alright. So a whole bunch of things that came up, and I wanted to cover I wanted to cover some of this stuff. The things that we're seeing in the media. You know, true colors coming through. Democrats showing their true colors. Is it what we expected? I know I did. I saw right through it. As most Republicans, I think I speak for, they saw right through this stuff. So, if you're a Democrat, you voted that way. Good for you. Whatever it is you voted for, you got it. I hope it's what you were expecting. But I don't think so. So now. So now that the Democrats got what they wanted, they supposedly showed up to the polls and voted. Whether legally or illegally, which remains to be seen still, is it what all the Democrat voters expected? I know as for me, and like I said, most Republicans, we knew exactly what to expect, and through months and months of warnings and arguments and losing friends and everything else on social media, it all went unheard, fell on deaf ears. So what are we going to do? What are these things that are rearing their ugly heads? Besides Pelosi and Harris and Omar and Maxine Waters. Anyway, forget it. We're not talking about ugly, but we have plenty of topic to cover at another time if we're talking about those folks. So let's look at some of the things that were said before the election and what is actually happening today. The Democrats, as you know, they've taken the office of the White House before they even are inaugurated or Biden even gets in there. They're wasting no time going back on promises, showing their true colors, and their sheepish followers, voters, continue to defend them. And I don't know if that's out of either misdirected loyalty, the false promise of free shit. I don't know what it is, but or maybe out of just sheer embarrassment, trying to skirt around the unavoidable "I told you so." That's going to come from from those of us like myself, the patriots. In any case, you know, I want to take a look at some of that stuff, and so the news was nothing less than disparaging. Rude, unwatchable. Saturday Night Live, you know, had more truth than CNN, and more credibility than any of the mainstream media there for a little while, which says a whole bunch. And now they're out there complaining. They're complaining about ratings falling and calling respectable reporting agencies radicalized media in an effort to, you know, save themselves from the slow death that they're experiencing. Even Fox has reported viewer ratings are down 35%. And it seems the desired group of brain dead don't actually have enough numbers to support the clown media. And millions upon millions have left the mainstream media, and they're tuning in for nothing more than the daily weather report. And to tell you, I used to watch local Fox, and I just don't anymore. It's just not worth it. Love some of the local hosts. I know a few of them. I've met several of them on occasions, and been on the morning news myself a few times, but I just can't support the stations anymore. And it would seem they underestimated the number of Trump supporters that are actually out there and believe their own bullshit and lies that they've been spreading. I'm not talking just about Fox. I'm talking about mainstream media in general. After all, the beloved MSM, right? Why wouldn't people believe us? Who wouldn't believe them? Who dares not to believe what the media is feeding you? There's a whole bunch of people out there apparently, but those are the thoughts of the pompous media outlets that are on your television every day. And it seems they also underestimated the power of the people to sink their ships, because there are many patriots, Republicans that are moving over to other media outlets. All they have left are a small handful of Democrats, voters. They thought totaled 80 million. And I think through the media they're even finding out that's not true. And now they're left scratching their heads, wondering where the hell did everyone go? Where are all our viewers at? And they're coming out with some things to save face and try to save face anyway. Fox says, well, yes, we've lost viewers, but it's not enough to really affect our to affect us in any. Well, if you lose 30% of anything in any type of business, especially in media, if you lose that much of your following, you're going to feel it. I don't care what they say. So make no mistake, they know exactly where all these people are going. They know where they went and where they're continuing to go. And this is why they all have, at one time or another, taken their pot shots and taken the opportunity to make feeble attempts at best to bash Newsmax, One America Online. If you haven't checked out those agencies and their broadcasts, by all means, do so. Because they're going to tell you everything the mainstream media is not telling you. And it's been all over the media that Biden's been less than enthusiastic about meeting with black leadership, Black Lives Matters. And I'm going to play parts of the podcast that will, and we'll post a link at the end so you can actually watch it yourself. I want to go to this. This is something new that I'm trying out. So let's see if we can make this. Let's see if we can make this happen here real quickly. All right. I might not. We might just get the audio, but in any case, let's listen.
So there's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what used to, Benita, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates when you'd have some of the people you were supporting say, on day one, I'm going to executive order to do this. Not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution. Executive authority that my progressive friends talk about is way beyond the bounds. And as one of you said, maybe you, Reverend now, whether it's far left or far right, there is a Constitution. It's our only hope. Our only hope. And the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority, I will use it to undo every single damn thing this guy has done by executive authority.
Wow.
But I'm not going to exercise executive authority where it's questioned, where I can come along and say, I can do away with assault weapons. There's no executive authority to do away with that. And no one's fought harder to get rid of assault weapons than me. Me. But you can't do it by executive order. If you do that, next guy comes along and says, well, guess what? By executive order, I'm going to say everybody can own machine guns again.
Okay, Joe. All right. So you can see, what he's talking about. He's talking about executive orders. The black community was hoping he would pass on day one, mind you, the first day, and now he's fallen back on that. He's hiding behind the Constitution, which is a joke. The Democrats have long since abandoned the Constitution. They don't see it as a founding document or unless it benefits them. Let's put it that way. They see it more as a roadblock, more so than a governing document. That made this. Listen, the Constitution is what made this country great. It's the greatest country in the world. Even still, we have some issues, but I think the message that's being sent out there is that we're not going to sit down, we're not going to stand by, we're not going to let it happen. That's not how we are. We are the greatest country in the world. But let's listen, because it gets more interesting as we go along. So I'm going to let you folks listen to some more of this. As I said, I'm going to go ahead and post a link to this. So you can watch it, because, if you want to see the whole thing.
One of the things I'd be concerned about,
Let's listen.
just as was pointed out to me, that you wanted me to be concerned, Derek, I think it was you said it, about, dealing with Vilsack as in terms of agriculture. Well, first of all, you'll learn more about Vilsack's record, but my point is this. I don't think we should make that a big issue going into before January 5th, when the election takes place down in Georgia. But
Hold on for a second. Okay, so did you hear what's being said? He's going to go on. He's going to talk a little bit more. What he's addressing the objection to Biden's pick for Secretary of Agriculture. One of the black leaders, community leaders, Al Sharpton and a few others, they have an objection to that. I'm not exactly sure why Vilsack they have an objection, but we'll find out a little bit more. Let's listen, because it gets more interesting.
But I also don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform in that, because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur. Promise you. Just
Now hold on. Now, did you hear what he says? Okay, so what was the biggest thing? What did we hear for months after George Floyd? And we were still hearing up until the election. Defund the police was everywhere. So what he says is, defund the police is not the goal. Was that not what was being called for? Is that not exactly what was being said? Is that not part of his platform? The whole Democratic Party, not part of their platform. That was part of it. Defund the police. Now all of a sudden, we don't want to do that. That was all over the media for months, and now it's changed. And when you watch the podcast, you can see, and I'm not playing the video because I haven't quite figured that part out yet, because I'm a rookie. I'm just like you guys. I'm not a professional journalist, and I don't have a staff helping me out here. So anyway, as you can see these black leaders, and they start to cringe when he starts to say things like that. I mean, after all, that is a huge part of what he talked about when he talked about Black Lives Matters, and when he talked about the racial injustice going on in our world today, and what happened to George Floyd and everybody else, the other guy that got shot, and Breonna, forget her last name, calls to defund the police. That was what we agreed on, isn't it? Isn't that what we agreed to do, Joe? I gotta tell you, it just gets crazy. So, by the way, this Vlasic guy, he was Obama's Secretary of Agriculture. Big surprise. You bring in more of Obama's cronies. Now, I want you folks to listen a little bit more. So now, again, we don't want to defund the police. We want to hold them accountable, right? This is what he says. So listen. Let me get back to here. I apologize, folks. All right.
Because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur. Promise you. Just think to yourself and give me advice whether we should do that before January 5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not.
Hold on, Joe. Hang on, I gotta back up just a little bit.
5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable.
That's right.
We're talking about giving them money to do the right thing. We're talking about putting more psychologists and psychiatrists on the telephones when the 911 calls through. We're talking about...
Okay. Whoa. I love it. We beat the hell out of him. Anyway, listen. He's oh, sorry. Okay, so now we're not talking about, just to catch you up to speed, we're not talking about defunding the police anymore. Now we're talking about holding them accountable. And are you starting to see the pattern that's happening here? Then he says, as that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. Are you starting to see the pattern? There's a pattern emerging. Then he says, he said we're talking about giving them money to do the right things. We're talking about putting more psychologists and psychiatrists on the telephones when the 911 calls through. We're talking about spending money to enable them to do their jobs better, not with more force, with less force, and more understanding. Holy shit, the bed, Batman. Listen. So now you see it went from defunding the police and using that money for the community, as was promised. That was the whole purpose behind defunding the police, not just to get rid of the police. They wanted to give that money to the community, but now we're not giving that money to the community because we're not defunding the police. Now we want to give them more money to do their jobs better because we're going to put psychologists and therapists on the phone. So when you call 911 and you're upset because you're having a heart attack, you'll have somebody there to talk to. It just so many questions, so much in that statement that it's just ridiculous. But but watch the podcast and watch the reactions of these black leaders as it dawns on them that they've been hoodwinked, that they've been taken for a ride once again. Let's listen just a little bit more, okay? That'll end. This'll. I won't go any farther than that. I'll let you guys look at the podcast if you want.
Spending money to enable them to do their jobs better, not more with more force, with less force and more understanding. But I just raise it with you to think about. How much do we push between now and January 5th?
Very important.
We need those 2 seats about police reform, but I guarantee you there will be a full-blown commission. I guarantee you it's a major, major, major element.
Major. It's a trifecta. It's a major deal. Listen. The important part about that last statement that he made, that you really need to catch.
One of the things I'd be concerned about, just as was pointed out to me that you wanted me to be concerned, Derek, I think it was you said it, about, there will be a full-blown commission.
We're going back here.
How much do we push between now and January 5th? We need those 2 seats.
He don't give a rat's ass about you, about me, about black lives, purple lives, green lives, Hispanic lives, Italian lives, horse lives, dog lives. He don't care. The Democrats don't care. They made promises, and now he's gone back on them, and through this whole podcast. The best thing about the technology that we have today is that we get to watch some of what actually happens in these backdoor, in these backroom closed door meetings, like this one with Joe Biden and these black community leaders, and Kamala Harris, who kept her yap shut the whole time, which is good. Nobody wants to hear from her anyway. But in the first and the second part of this podcast, you see he's talked a lot about the 2 of them together are maybe 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long, and they talk, and he's talked to you 3 times about the election and the votes. He got what he wanted. He says, I just raise it with you to think about how much do we push between now and January 5th. We need those 2 seats. He don't care. He wants power. The Democratic the Democratic Party is trying to seize as much power as they can. Biden and his cronies, they don't care about you. Or police reform, or all they care about is gaining those seats so they can have the House, the Senate, and the White House. We'll see what happens with all of that. I'm still not convinced Trump's leaving. The only great thing, like I said, about technology is we get a little bit of a glimpse into some of these backroom meetings, and even the slogan, defund the police, is what the Democrats feel is this is what they feel. They have lost seats in the House and the Senate because of that little slogan. The majority leaders have called it out as a leading reason that they lost so many. Obama even chimed in on that one. His opinion is, he said, quote, snappy slogan and snappy slogan that cost us votes. There's a divide there. I can see it, and I'm sure some of you or many of you can. They're upset, and they blame you, the voters, the ones that went out and rioted and spread messages for. They're blaming you for losing so many seats for them, the party. It couldn't have possibly been that so many simply just want to live as free people, to be left alone to make money and do what they have to do and raise their families, and not under a government rule. Nope, not at all. Couldn't have been any of that. It was the slogan, defund the police, almost cost them the election. I gotta do a shout out to Intercept. Some of the material and links that I'm going to provide and that I'm using here. I'll leave a link in the chat section for Intercept because they post a lot of stuff out there that the mainstream media is not going to tell you. I bet you didn't even know this podcast was out there. So, but I want to move on a little bit. I want to go ahead and on the other side of the horse's ass, Senator Pelosi. She's out there and she states, as House, she's all proud of this, by the way. As House Speaker, I am proud to announce the creation of the new bipartisan Select Committee on Economic Disparity and Fairness and Growth, which will be an essential force in congressional Democrats' action to combat the crisis of income and wealth disparity in America. Through all of that garbage and that wordy bullshit, it's a bipartisan selected committee, so there's people from both parties, but it's an essential force in congressional Democrats' action to combat the crisis of income and wealth disparity in America. It's not a team player deal. This is the Democrats' committee. It's not your committee. It's not my committee. It's not our committee. It's not the Republican or the GOP's. It's not a work together type of deal. It's a committee to move a Democratic agenda forward, congressional Democrats' agenda forward, and so the other half of that it cannot work. It's an action to combat the crisis of income and wealth disparity in America. Yes, it's a crisis. Oh my goodness. God forbid that you should go to college and become a doctor and make $250,000 or $300,000 a year, and that I should drop out of high school and make $15 an hour and never go to college. It's a disparity, and it's not fair. It's not fair. Pelosi's telling you it's not fair. It's not fair that you become successful and somebody else doesn't. Listen, first of all, capitalism is not a bad thing. Capitalists are the guys that are paying your bills, they're paying your paycheck, they're trying to keep their doors open. They started a business to make money. They became successful. They employ you and me and the Democrats and the Republicans and anybody else, blacks, whites, Hispanics, capitalists. They're the guys that are paying your bills. I'm sorry, that's what it boils down to. You wouldn't have a paycheck if somebody didn't start a business. You cannot have equal pay across the board. Wealth distribution does not work. Why? Why should it? Why should a business owner that has 100 employees clocking out at the end of their shift make the same amount of money as they do? I own a couple businesses. I put a lot of money into these businesses. I am the only one that puts money into these businesses. One of my businesses, I have a partner. He puts money into it, and I started with a loan on the other one. How does that even make sense? That if I hire somebody, I should split all the profits with them. If I was big enough, I'd have a profit-sharing plan, I'm sure. Most good companies do. But after all, employees, listen, they are a vital part of any business. I am huge. You take care of your workforce. You take care of the people that take care of you. They're the front line. They're what makes your business work. But they're also the ones that they're making the products. They're servicing the customers, but they're not keeping the business afloat from the executive branch. They're not the ones skipping lunch or working during their lunch. They're not the ones paying the bills. They're not the ones that are worried about that. They're not the ones paying for the insurance, the licensing, the materials, the tools, the building, the rent, the gas in the fleet, the trucks, the truck insurance. They're not paying all that stuff. They're not the ones taking on the legal responsibility of owning a business. They're not the ones that have to stand in court if the company gets sued. They're not the ones taking on the risk and liability of a bankruptcy or getting the collection notices when things are not so good. They're there with their hands out, as they should be. They work, you get paid. That's the way it works. All right, the guy with the money pays the guy that's working for him so that he has money. He pays other people to support his family, whether it be the grocery store, or the utilities, or the house rent, or whatever. That's how society works. That's how our society works. You don't get nothing for nothing. You can't distribute that stuff. Now, if somebody wants to split the profits in my business with me, I will be happy to do that. I'll split the profits in my company equally amongst my employees and myself. But they're also going to take on the liabilities. They're going to stop clocking out after an 8-hour shift, wanting to go home and see their family, go to the bar or whatever. They're going to stay until the work's done, like I do. Right? They're not going to see their family as much as they did. They're going to miss holidays, or they're going to be in the middle of a holiday and get a call and have to jump in a truck and go service a client, because that's what business ownership is. While people are, when there's nobody else, the business owner is the one that does it. Now I'm talking about mainly small, medium-sized businesses. You get a business owner out there in a shirt, in a plumbing shirt, if he owns a plumbing company, to make sure the clients get taken care of while the employees are at home. Yeah, he may take a vacation and he may have the money to do that, but it's because he busted his ass to get where he's at. And he doesn't know tomorrow or next week or next month what he'll get as a paycheck, or if he's gonna get a paycheck, or if he's gonna have to pull out of his savings account to keep the business afloat. Especially now, a lot of restaurant owners are doing that very thing. So if the employees want to make this and have a fair share of the business like the business owner, then they have to be willing to give up that as well. Pull out of their savings account to keep the business afloat when things are bad. You can't just take. You can't just take. I'm talking about business owners. You can't just take out of your business. You have to put back into it, or it's never going to grow. It's never going to be successful. You have to do what it takes. I'm talking to employees. If that's what you want, and if that's what you think is going to work, then by all means, jump on. I'll split my profits with you. But when the business goes slow, be ready to pull out of your pocket. I'll put as much as you want into your pocket. We'll build it together, but you're going to pull out of your pocket when the business needs you. Business is not about you working for me or me working for somebody else that owns a business. We both work for a third entity. You have to think of a business, an LLC, a corporation, whatever it is, as a separate person. The easiest way I can explain it. An LLC is a separate entity. When an LLC is formed, me as a business owner, I take on the responsibility of answering for that business and making sure that it's run and operated correctly. And I take care of all the legal crap that comes along with it. But to say I own it, okay, I get the lion's share. That's what it means. But that business is not owned, it's run by people. You and I work for Metro Towing. You and I work for HP. HP or Metro Towing is its own entity. That's how it works. That's the best way I can explain it. I might actually do a video on how business works and the different roles that people play. So there are a million reasons why the labor force cannot and should not make the same amount of money, or the money should not be equally distributed amongst the executive branch and the workforce. I'm not making the separation as a negative thing. Not by any means. I've had a lot of people work for me, and any one of them today would come back to work for me because they're on the same level that I am. We may make different money because our roles are different, but they're on the same level that I am. I'd never put anybody down for being an employee or somebody that works for me. We're not employee. You're not my employee. We're a team. We're team members, and I learned that from one of the greatest companies that I ever worked for. Everybody's a team member. So there are a lot of good companies out there that offer profit sharing, great benefits to their employees, including stock options and bonuses, and that's a way of giving back. That's a way of trying to have some form of profit distribution amongst everybody. And that is if the company is doing well enough to be able to afford to do that. A lot of small companies are not able to do that because a lot of them aren't traded. They're not traded on the market. So if you're working for a smaller company or family-owned business, you have to take the good with the bad. But Pelosi doesn't. She doesn't care. She doesn't care how all of that works. She doesn't care about anything. Pelosi does not have the worker in mind. Make no mistake about it. The more money you make, the higher the taxes you're going to pay. She knows that. The Democrats know that. Do you think for 1 minute she has your best interest at heart? I don't think she cares. I really don't. There isn't a government party out there that cares about the people. I think that's partly where Trump makes his mistake, is he does care about people. Anyway, I've done a business on how the taxes work, how the trickle-down effect and all of that affects you, the worker. The trickle-down effect, to put simple. I'll briefly explain it in a nutshell. When a company's taxes and expenses go up, the expenses get passed down to you as a consumer in the cost of goods and services, thus raising the cost of living. And the bigger the nest, the bigger the egg, my friends. That's just how it works. The more you make, the more you pay. And the more you get, the more they get. So listen, I'm going to wrap it up a little bit. People played once again by the Democratic Party. That's all I can tell you. Promises made and never kept. As soon as the vote tally was in their favor, they made the plans to kick you in the teeth, and they're doing it. They're doing it just the way that they planned to do it. They got what they wanted from you, and now you're no good to them. Not until, as Mr. Biden put it, not until January 5th, because they need those 2 seats. And don't you forget it, and don't you cause them to lose those 2 Senate seats. Don't you do it. So it's depressing to see such a party and so many people hell-bent on ruining this country. That Democrats are using everything in their power to try and turn the tables and blame the GOP for the things that they are guilty of themselves. They're trying in vain, mind you, to dump all of the labels that they picked up along the way onto the Republicans, and we're not going to have any of it. We will have none of it. You diehard sheeple can keep following Harris and her puppet Biden straight off of the cliff. Listen, you can give your country away to the Chinese if you want to, but there are 70 million people, 70 million of us, who will fight to keep America American. So to tell you the truth, to watch the Democrats blatantly say that they want to give Americans $2,000 is a flat lie. Flat out lie. Trump said it a month ago. He wanted $2,000 and he sent it back. And the jackasses on the left tried to say they wanted it. Pelosi says, I urge the president to sign this bill for $2,000 and this relief package for the people. Don't look. If mummy-faced Pelosi wanted to give you $2,000, it damn well would have been in the bill, right from the get-go. She would have given it to you. Why didn't she give it to you to begin with? I don't know what the hell is up with McConnell, but he needs to be replaced. I'll argue with that guy. I don't know what he's doing. I really don't. I really, 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 really don't. Even Trump is like, what the hell are you doing? So, I spend a lot of time watching this garbage so I can bring these things to you and kind of put it all into perspective and kind of put it all together. But the Democrats will stop at nothing, not even blatant lies to seize power. The problem is there are 3 times as many guns in America as there are people. And you can only push people so far before you end up with a rebellion. A revolution, if you will. And that can only turn into one thing, a flat-out civil war, if people are not heard. Okay, there's a group on Facebook. They've also got a group on MeWe, Twitter, Parler, I can't think of it. I don't know. I lose track. There are so many social media groups, but they have on all the main social media. You'll be able to find them. Just about every other social media platform, they've put their group up. It's called the name of the group is called Joe Biden is Not My President. Listen, this group grew to over 1 million members. This morning, they hit 1 million members. And here we are 10 hours later, and they're at 1.4 million. This is in less than 14 days. Okay, it's huge. It's the fastest growing group on Facebook at the moment. And they're in the top 20 largest groups on Facebook. So they've alone, just only on Facebook, 1.4 million members, and that was as of about a half hour ago. So literally, look at the number. You could literally, it blew me away. You could literally look at the number, and 5 minutes later, come back and look at it again, and there were 200,000 more members. It was incredible. Despite the efforts of Facebook to censor these folks and shadow block them, the site kept growing. Everywhere, people everywhere were joining this group. They're still joining it. Look it up on any social media platform. Join them. It's just incredible. It's incredible how fast they grew. I saw a quote. That I think I'm probably going to use. Maybe it'll be a slogan for Forgotten Country. And it says it's not your job to wake the sheep. It's your job to wake the other lions. I love that. And believe me, the lions are awake. We're awake. So I want to end with this. If you'll just close your eyes for a second and just pray with me. Lord our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Please look out for the patriots and your children, Lord. We're doing our best to be faithful. Whenever you say, Lord, in the Word, whenever 2 or more are gathered, you're in the midst. And Lord, there are millions of us. We're all praying. We thank you, Lord, for keeping us and protecting us. In Jesus' name, Lord, keep a hedge around us. We know you're a faithful God, and we're trying to be faithful followers. We believe in you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. And I just wanted to close that out with this. But please, do me a favor, like and share the video. Go to YouTube and follow the page. The next time I see you, we'll cover something else. Let me know. Feel free to send me a message. Let me know what it is you want to talk about, and I'll do my best to do that for you. Till next time, be safe. God bless everybody. Have a great day, a great weekend. Love ya.